Hey, Spence, let's trip out. Cool.
Welcome everybody, MadKicker here. I'm here to present you episode 1 of MadKicker's Psychonaut series. What is a Psychonautzi? Now I understand that National Socialists don't refer to themselves as Nazis. It's considered a bit of an insult or a bit of a derogatory term. I have to say that I've been very heavily influenced by National Socialism, and I agree with like 99% of it. So I don't intend to upset people here. Really what I'm trying to do is to have a little bit of a playful take on the word. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek, and what I'm really trying to do is to combine two concepts, that of psychonautics with white identity, especially contemporary white identity. So this is an idea that in the following I'm going to try to explain to you. And what is that idea? Well, I have a general working definition. It is psychonautics relating to topics prevalent in contemporary American and European white identity politics. So you'll note that even though I was talking about National Socialism before, you'll actually see that what I really mean here is the greater white identity politics movement. We all know that there's more than just National Socialism in the pro-white movement, and that this term psychonautzi, like I said, it's a play on words. It doesn't literally only relate to National Socialism, but it does also include other kinds of white identity politics. At this point, I'm sure there's a lot of questions you have. But first, I really want to zoom in and think about psychonautics. What do I mean by psychonautics? Well, there's a lot of different definitions out there you could easily find. But when I talk about psychonautics here, what I'm talking about is a research paradigm whereby the researcher deliberately induces altered states of consciousness to extract subjective experiences into meaningful data. In that description, I talked about research. So I bet you're thinking, research? What kind of research? Well, psychonautics is not something I invented. It's something that was around for quite a while. And what you could research and what psychonautics is usually used for is to research something like the human condition, or some will use it as an entheogen or as for spiritual development. Other people have used the altered states of consciousness to answer philosophical questions like metaphysical questions and epistemological questions. And psychonautics is also applicable to the hard sciences as well. I think of psychonauts such as mathematician Ralph Abraham or neuroscientist Dr. Michelle Ross. These are two examples that come to mind. Other famous psychonauts would be somebody like author Philip K. Dick or Terence McKenna. In fact, if you wanted to get an idea for what I mean when I say psychonautzi, think of Terence McKenna as if he were a fasci goy, right? If he went to college and he was brought up in this pro-white movement that many of us find ourselves today, what might he have talked about? How might his research have changed? So going back to this idea, how do you combine something like psychonautics with pro-white identity politics? Well, it's with the understanding that when I talk about pro-white identity politics, it's not pure politics. That if you actually look at this quote-unquote movement that we find ourselves in, it's more than politics. It's, and some have used the term metapolitics. It's questions of culture. It's about religion, philosophy. It's about the roots of white people as an understanding what our future should be. Now, before I go on, I want to talk more about altered states of consciousness. And part of this is that a lot of people think I'm automatically talking about psychedelic drugs, which is honestly, it's a big part of it. However, it's not. It's not what I'm talking about. It need not be necessary for an individual to take psychedelic drugs to have an altered state of consciousness. So there's that. There's pharmacological ways to induce altered states of consciousness, but there's others that aren't, such as meditation, or there's even some rituals which use extreme pain that induce hypnotic states. There's things like, veterans who've had combat trauma, who have had experienced altered states of consciousness. Individuals who experience near-death experiences, sleep or sensory deprivation. There's even certain diseases, such as, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Geschwind syndrome, which is a form of epilepsy which is correlated to hyperreligiosity. And there's even some parasites in humans and animals that are known to alter behavior. And in altering behavior, it always evokes the question, at least to me, whether or not it's altering consciousness in some form. So there's all kinds of altered states of consciousness, and there is going to be a point where I do want to start talking about psychedelic drugs specifically, and the reason is because I believe it is taboo in the pro-white movement to talk about psychedelic drug use. And at some point I want to make a separate episode that addresses that more specifically. But for the record, I am not in any way really promoting any kind of drugs. That's not really what I'm doing here. And you also have to bear in mind that there's some drugs are illegal. So I'm not promoting anything, but I'm going to get the disclaimer more fully and formally written up, but that's for a different episode. So that's pretty much where I want to leave it when it comes to my working definition of Psychonautzi. So the term it's open for anybody else to use, but it's important to understand that as I present this, I also have my own biases, my own personal experiences, and a direction that I want to take the topic that might be different from somebody else who might also be interested in the topic. Some of the topics that I want to bring in that might be considered a little far out there are those of the supernatural. So I am interested in things like psionics or the UFO phenomenon. I'm interested in pop culture too. For example, like conspiracy culture, or you never see that show Ancient Aliens, the guy with the hair. I'm also interested in lost civilizations, mind control, the Mandela effect. All these things are part of pop culture, and I look at pop culture as being something that's valuable, something that's worth reflecting on. But I'm also going to bring in ideas that are more scientific and formally philosophical. So I'll be talking about things like the multiverse theory and quantum mechanics, the many minds interpretation. I'll be talking about my thoughts on solipsism and philosophical idealism. So it's going to be all over the place. But the point is that I have an argument to make, and that eventually it's going to really start making sense. I'm going to try my best to explain my philosophies, my worldview, and I also want to, convey that I actually do have a specific goal. And my goal really is to energize discussion and interest in this topic in the pro-white movement. I want to share a personal religious and political vision I have, and I want that to be materially contributing to what I believe will be a new era of esoteric Hitlerism, and not just in a religious way, but also perhaps in a political way too. I do indeed want to earn your respect through my ideas. I also want to be an influencer. Even though I don't want to be an egomaniac, I have to be honest to say that I do want to influence the direction of thought. So since this is a discussion and exploration based series, I do want to say that I'm going to pay particular attention to comments, So if you can leave comments, or if you have critiques, or if you have suggestions, or if you're interested in topics, or if you need clarification, I really want to encourage you to do that. And also, if you find it interesting, share with your friends. Also, if you are interested, contact me and invite me into your own personal chat rooms if you have some kind of community where you're involved with discussing something like philosophy or religion. Bring me into that. Alright folks, that'll be the end of the series. I look forward to my next series. Remember to leave comments, to like and share. This is MadKicker signing out.
All these people are locked in this dream. They can't seem to wake up. They send in the firemen and all this other guy, and nobody can get them out. And they finally go get Freddy fucking Krueger to go in there and clean up the mess. I stand here as Satan himself on gallons of blood. I am fucking Freddy Krueger. And I have that mythical spirit of destiny.